now, is abuse in sports abuse in sport a crisis? Is
Yes.
abuse in sport a crisis in Canada? And if not, why not call a public inquiry? From your perspective, what was the downside of that process?
Well, thank you, Ashley, for the question. Abuse in sport, maltreatment, unsafe sport is absolutely a crisis in this country, and that's why we're moving forward with this commission. Again, comparing models. I hope you all know me now to be a systems thinker and someone who looks at the broader systemic impacts of processes. A public inquiry has its benefit in certain contexts, but the formality and legal rigidity of that type of process didn't lend itself to the concerns that I have around making sure it's a safe place for victims and survivors. Also, quite frankly, this is a very technical one, but sport is primarily a provincial jurisdiction, and we would have to spend a lot of time negotiating terms of references and process details with the provinces and territories. It could take a year before that negotiation concluded. And then maybe most importantly for me, we are not starting from scratch here. We do not need to revisit almost the issue of whether there's a safe sport crisis in this country. That's the starting point for this. So a 2-year process that could result in a finding that bad things happen in sport, I'll stipulate bad things happened in sport. And we are not asking athletes, we do not want cross-examination of victims. We do not want people to have to prove they were traumatized. And quite frankly, the TRC model is a much safer approach in that context.
You can say that there are sports organizations, there are committees that are all have all built systems that have created harm. So at the end of all this, how are you going to hold those groups accountable?
Really good question. So we've built in accountability into the terms of reference directly. A lot of the immediate actions I'm announcing today, in particular the funding, the modernization of the funding model to build in more accountability, will give the government more tools to hold organizations more to account. But my expectation coming out of the recommendations of the commission, is that they will make recommendations on how we can get past all of what you just referred to, the apparent conflicts of interest, the duplication, there's so much mistrust in this system that I'm hoping this process and the ultimate recommendation starts to rebuild that. But quite frankly, actually, I'm prepared to do whatever it takes because sport's too precious.